Welcome to ShareControl, your workplace in the cloud. In this video, we'll show the functionality of the updated version of ShareControl, which is now available. Please contact us to schedule an upgrade. This upgrade enables you to locate a direct link from the contract in the calculation file to where it's stored in SharePoint. This makes it easier to find the contract if you need to change it. As previously stated, all changes have to be made in SharePoint via the changelog. You can now also upload other contracts in addition to the IFRS 16 contracts in the calculation file if you want to use this to get an overview of all contract payments moving forward. To access these, choose the column Select Contract, which is not IFRS 16. This is how you get a complete overview of pending payments. We have improved the solution so that you can set up additional payments in an IFRS 16 contract. For example, payment of non-rental elements such as common expenses along with the fixed payments. You can also index these contracts in the same way you do the IFRS 16 contracts. Mass adjustment functions are now available for all of them, which makes it easier to index regulate several contracts simultaneously. Additionally, we've provided a separate field for one-time payments. If the field is not relevant for you, you can always hide the field under Setting. Currency translation is now made into average exchange rates every month. This is an improvement compared to the earlier version, where it was calculated based on average exchange rates for the chosen period. Remember to select the average exchange rate in Settings in the calculation file and choose the source for exchange rates. The difference is now calculated automatically. You can also register the contract in currency, separate from the functional currency. Power Automate. Many of you are probably used to getting reminders from Microsoft 365. We now have integrated this functionality with ShareControl, so you can get reminders via, for example, an email, Teams, or Power Automate app when an option or a purchase option in a contract is announced. Please contact us if you want to activate this function. Accounting date. Here you can calculate the accumulated effect of errors or mistakes during previous periods so that the accumulated effect is included in the period being accounted for. We have called this function Accounting Date. And this enables you to avoid the complicated registration to avoid involuntary change of historical numbers. Examples of what this function is useful for is a new lease that has been registered in the wrong period, contracts where the index regulation is missing, an error in the rental amount, an option that hasn't been registered under the correct period, or a contract cancellation not correctly recorded. Customers who have the Pro version automatically gets this upgrade. For all other customers, we can help correct errors when you use the new functions. Settings in the calculation file. You'll find the Settings menu in the Calculations template. We'll go through the different options. Hide warnings. This is useful if you have checked all warnings and assessed that the rental agreement is correctly registered. Hide for non-IFRS 16 leasing agreements, such as short-term leasing agreements or low-value loans, if such agreements are registered in ShareControl. Currency settings. You can choose that the system automatically calculates result post to average exchange rates and not closing exchange rate. By making this choice, you get calculate transaction differences in the footnotes. It's also possible to specify the source for receiving exchange rates. We have at the present moment only two built-in choices, Norway and Sweden. If neither of these are applicable, contact us and we'll see if it's possible to connect to the desired source. Ignore accounting date. This option can be used to see how the calculation had turned out without including the accumulated effect during a chosen period. Pro forma calculation. Activate this function to get pro forma numbers from an acquisition. Short-term debts. We support two separate definitions of short-term debts. 1. Calculate this as installments over the next 12 months based on a standard definition. 2. Define this as the present value of rental payments over the next 12 months. The button Create Spreadsheets is used to create spreadsheets for all contracts in one operation. This shouldn't be used if you have many contracts in a calculation file, as it'll take some time to get them all out. The menu sheet has always been the easiest way for the user to create their own reports. There have been over 100 different options, but it hasn't been clear what they are. Therefore, we have added a separate menu that appears when the header cell is highlighted and the user presses the control area. This menu is both searchable and contains information about what the results represents. Therefore, you can also use this to check what a selection represents by searching for it in this menu. The menu options have also been improved in the latest version. Here's an example of how you can address the payment patterns for the contracts. Administration. Remember that you can set the start date under Settings. By setting this date, the administrator will be able to restrict users from making changes that affect the outcome of closed accounting periods, which includes both registration of new contracts and changes to existing contracts. Go to Settings. The settings are only available to the administrator. Select Reporting Periods and enter the first date when the change can be registered. We have also made it so that you can hide fields not relevant to you under Settings, so that you limit the number of fields that the user sees. You'll find this under Settings IFRS 16, Show Additional Settings. Expired contracts. Expired contracts are displayed as follows. This is checked against today's date. Terminated contracts are also shown here. This was a review of the new features in the updated version of ShareControl Contract and IFRS 16. You can now contact us for an upgrade, and the upgrade is of course part of your subscription.